Hi friends! Welcome back to the Round Door podcast. I'm Lancy.
And I'm Kat. We're back today to continue our story from last week.
Kat, do you remember Ma Liang from last time?
Of course, Ma Liang got a magic brush that turned anything he painted real. He painted a little bird that flew away and a little fish that swam away.
Then the wicked landlord captured Ma Liang.
But Ma Liang painted a white horse. Whoosh! And he rode off. So cool.
Kat, you really love that white horse, huh?
Yep. So what's this episode about?
This episode, Ma Liang meets someone even worse than the wicked landlord.
Oh, worse than the landlord? Who would that be?
It's a man wearing a golden crown. The emperor.
Wow, the emperor? What's he going to do to Ma Liang? Friends, let's listen together.
Ma Liang rode his white horse to a faraway city. Inside this huge city was a beautiful palace. The walls of the palace were golden. The roof was red. The floor was paved with shimmering stones. Inside the palace sat a man wearing a golden crown. Who was this man? He was the emperor. This emperor excelled at eating tons and napping, and even better at thinking up lots of terrible ideas. He had piles and piles of gold and silver, but he always wanted more. The emperor sat on his big chair holding a golden apple. Tilting his head, he ate the apple thoughtfully. The emperor rubbed his tummy and greedily said,
I have all this and I have all that, but I want even more. I want that magic brush. That magic brush can paint anything and make it real. If I get it, I can paint a money tree. One shake and gold coins fall down. Another shake and it's a rainfall of gold. How wonderful that would be.
The emperor clapped his hands and called in his great general. The great general wore a golden armor and had a long sword at his waist. The emperor pointed at the great general and loudly ordered,
Great general, go and bring Ma Liang to me. I want his magic brush.
The great general bowed and loudly said,
Yes, emperor, I will do it.
The great general took 100 soldiers, riding 100 strong horses, and set off. The army crossed the big road, crossed the little river, crossed the hillside, and crossed the forest. They searched and finally found Ma Liang resting under a big tree. When Ma Liang saw the huge group of soldiers rushing towards him, he jumped in surprise. The great general pointed at Ma Liang and loudly asked,
Are you Ma Liang? The emperor wants to see you. Come with us.
Ma Liang shook his head and bravely said,
I will not go.
But there were too many soldiers. They surrounded Ma Liang and shoved him into a big palanquin. The army carrying the palanquin traveled on and on, all the way back to the big palace. The big gates of the palace opened. The soldiers brought Ma Liang before the emperor. Ma Liang looked up, and wow, the emperor's chair was so tall, and his golden crown had bright, sparkly jewels on it. The emperor smiled with shrewd eyes at Ma Liang and said,
Little Ma Liang, I hear you have a magic brush. Is that right?
Ma Liang did not say a word. The emperor continued,
Come, pay me a money tree. I'll shake it and make it rain gold coins. It will be wonderful.
Ma Liang looked at the emperor and bravely said,
No, my magic brush is only for the poor. It is not for rich people.
The emperor was so angry, he threw the golden apple in his hand to the ground with a big thud. The emperor loudly shouted,
You little child, how dare you disobey me? Guards, lock him up in the dungeon. Do not give him food. Do not give him water. We will see if he still dares to disobey.
The soldiers came rushing in and took Ma Liang to a dark, cold dungeon. The dungeon was so dark, only a little bit of moonlight came through the tiny window. The floor was damp and the walls were cold. Ma Liang sat in the corner of the dungeon and thought about the words of the old man. He touched his pocket and the magic brush was still there. Ma Liang thought in his heart, this emperor is even greedier than the wicked landlord. He had to come up with a plan to escape from this place. Ma Liang closed his eyes and thought for a very long time. Suddenly, Ma Liang smiled. He had an idea. The next morning, the emperor sent someone to check on Ma Liang. When the soldier opened the dungeon door, he saw Ma Liang sitting there quietly. The soldier hurried back to tell the emperor. The emperor laughed with a big grin and called Ma Liang over, asking him,
Little Ma Liang, have you thought it over? Will you paint the money tree?
Ma Liang nodded and smiled as he said,
Yes, Emperor, I will paint it for you, but I have one condition.
The emperor was so happy he jumped up and loudly exclaimed,
What condition? Tell me, tell me. As long as you paint, I will agree to any condition.
Ma Liang's eyes sparkled as he said,
The money tree I will paint is not here. It is on an island far, far away in the sea. You must bring many people and sail on a big ship to get there.
When the emperor heard this, he became even happier. He rubbed his tummy and greedily said,
Good, good, good. We will do it just as you say. Anyway, I have many, many ships and many, many people. We will all go together.
The emperor took Ma Liang to the big palace courtyard. There was a large white wall. Ma Liang took out the magic brush and started painting on the wall. First, he painted a big blue sea. Then, in the middle of the sea, he painted a little green island. After that, Ma Liang painted a very tall tree on the island. The leaves of this tree were not green, they were golden, and on the tree hung endless fruits, all of which were also golden and glinting bright. The emperor watched with his eyes wide and his mouth drooling. He said,
Wow, so this is the money tree? It is so beautiful. I want all those golden fruits. I want them all.
Ma Liang nodded and said,
Yes, Emperor, just one shake and the golden fruits will fall.
The emperor was eager to get to that island. He loudly ordered,
Ma Liang, hurry and paint a big ship. I want to go.
Ma Liang smiled and said,
All right, no problem.
Ma Liang painted a huge ship on the empty ground. The ship had 3 levels, many rooms, and billowing white sails. The ship went thud and jumped right out of the painting, landing on the sea. When the emperor saw the ship, he happily slapped the table. He summoned all his great generals, soldiers, officials, and brought them all along with his gold, silver, and treasures. Everyone lined up to board the ship. The emperor stood at the front of the ship, patting the table, and said,
Ha ha ha, I am going to finally get the money tree.
The emperor turned to Ma Liang and said,
Little Ma Liang, the ship is here. How do we make it move?
Ma Liang grinned and said,
Emperor, do not worry. I will paint some wind and the ship will start to move.
Ma Liang picked up the magic brush and lightly painted a few strokes in the air. With a whoosh, a gentle breeze came along. The white sails of the ship puffed up, and the ship slowly began to drift across the sea. The emperor laughed and loudly said,
Ha ha ha, yes, Ma Liang, paint more wind. I want to get to the island faster.
Ma Liang painted a few more strokes in the air. The wind grew a little stronger, and the ship moved a little faster. The emperor still was not satisfied. He stood at the front of the ship and shouted,
Not enough, Ma Liang. Paint more, paint more. I want to go even faster.
Ma Liang looked at the emperor. He thought of all the poor villagers. He thought of the old grandmother. He thought of the old grandfather. The emperor was so greedy, wanting more and more money, and never caring about those in need. So, Ma Liang decided to teach this bad emperor a lesson. Ma Liang lifted the magic brush high, and with big sweeping strokes, he painted in the air. A great gust of wind came sweeping in. The wind was very strong, so strong that it made the ship rock back and forth. The emperor's hat was blown right off. He covered his bald head with his hands and shouted,
Too big, Ma Liang. Enough. Enough. Stop painting.
But Ma Liang did not stop. He painted another stroke in the air. The wind grew even bigger. Huge waves rode up on the sea. The waves came crashing in, layer after layer, taller than a mountain. The emperor's ship rocked back and forth on the waves. One moment lifted up to the sky, and the next moment plunged into the sea. The emperor was so scared, his face turned pale. He knelt on the ship's deck and begged Ma Liang.
Ma Liang, please do not paint anymore. I promise I will never be greedy again.
But Ma Liang thought about the poor folks the emperor had bullied for so long. He shook his head and said,
Emperor, all you want is gold and silver for yourself. You are too selfish to care about others. This is your lesson.
Ma Liang painted another big stroke of wind. With a crash, a giant wave came rushing in. The ship was knocked over by the wave. The emperor, his great generals, his soldiers, his officials, and all his gold, silver, and treasures all fell into the sea. The seawater washed the emperor and his ship away. The wind gradually stopped. The waves slowly grew small. Ma Liang stood by the seaside and looked at the water. He put the magic brush away and tucked it into his pocket. Ma Liang said,
The old man told me the magic brush is meant to help the poor. Now the bad emperor is gone, the poor people can finally live good lives.
Ma Liang left the big city and left the palace. Where did he go? Nobody really knows. Some people say Ma Liang went back to his little mountain village. He stayed with his friends who tilled the land. In the daytime, they farmed together, and in the evening, they painted together. The old grandmother, the old grandfather, and the little children in the village all loved to be with him. Others say Ma Liang wandered from place to place, going far, far away. Wherever he went, he painted for the poor. Whatever a family needed, Ma Liang would paint it for them. And still, others say that on rainy nights, a small light appears in the sky, from very far off in the distance. People say that is Ma Liang's magic brush, up in the sky, up in the clouds, helping all the people in the world who need help. No one knows where Ma Liang went, but Ma Liang's kind heart and Ma Liang's magic brush will stay in people's hearts forever and ever. Phew, all done. Kat, what did you think of this emperor?
Oh, way too greedy. He already has so much gold but still wanted more. Even when he was eating and sleeping, he was thinking up bad ideas.
Right? And he didn't care about anyone in his kingdom at all.
But Ma Liang was amazing. Just a little kid and he tricked the emperor into the sea. He was teaching him a lesson.
When we have good things, we should share, not keep them all to ourselves, right?
We should all try to be a little bit more like Ma Liang, like being helpful to others and not be afraid to tackle hard things.
Well, friends, that's it for today. See you next time.
Bye-bye!